We're back at Watercolor Studio 42, and today I am going to do a floral. And I have a picture of somebody else's great artwork here, almost looks photographic. But I've got a picture of Black-Eyed Susan's, very popular flower, very popular flower. Sometimes you see the gardens filled with all that type of species. Black-Eyed Susan. So anyways, I'm going to just go through a few little exercises to warm up here. And when you're working, usually I'll show you some samples here on a piece of paper, kind of a loose piece of paper. And it's good to just kind of loosen up a little bit before you get going. And when you're doing a flower, sometimes I just do donut shapes. But so that's doing the small circle in the middle, the hole, so to speak, and then you do the outside ring, okay? So I'm going to do this a little bit darker than usual, and I'll see what we can do. This is using a pencil, but I'm rotating it quite a bit around, so it's going to show up. And that's the center. And then when you do the outside, I usually determine the outside about 2 lengths larger than the width of the circle. So here we go, 1, 2. So you got an outside ring that's going to be around it like that. Now normally I would make that much darker, but or lighter I should say, but so you can see it better on television. Darker, yeah, like that. Now sometimes when you putting the petals in, like Black-Eyed Susan has about 14 petals. It's almost the same number, like similar to daisies. And so what I usually do is going out from that center circle, I'll put one line that goes out, I'll call it north, and then south, east, and west, okay? So then I practice my ovals. Basically, the shape of a petal is like an oval shape. So you could practice doing your ovals, your circles. You could put these on the scrap paper, practice those, and then we'll start in. Now I've marked this off. I put the center. This is the outside of the flower, and then what I'm going to do is mark it north, south, east, and west, and so forth. And why I do that, I'll show you. Okay, now I'm going to do a petal. So I'm starting from the center circle. I'm going out to that little soft little sketch I made on the outside of the ring. It's really starting like a donut, really, when you do flowers sometimes. So here's one rotation here. Here's the other one. North, south, right? And we'll say this is east over here somewhere. And west, okay? So now, I've kind of gone over it a little bit repetitionally. But the thing is that you got north, south, east, and west. So all the petals fall in between. And that way they don't get all slanted, like all leaning one way when you try to go around the circle. So let's fill it in. Okay, all the in-betweens now. All right, here you go. Okay, and then in between that, fill it right in. I'm staying somewhat on that outer ring that I drew in. We're probably there. You filled it in pretty much now all around the circle. In other words, you filled in the donut with the petals. Okay, you can count it if you want. You can start with north. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, about 13, 14. That's about the number of petals you'd have on the plant. So just to fill it in. Now, if let's say for example you kind of made the petals a little larger or wider or something, and you can only fit so many in. What you do is just add a couple petals. You just put overlapping a little bit around the inside there, okay? Now the stem, when you do the stem, you have to consider the width or the thickness of a stem. Usually the stem is about the width of a straw, a normal straw, you know, that you'd use. And that usually is a bend, it has a little bit of a bend to it. You probably don't want to make it just too rigid and straight up and down. Just give the stems a little bit of a curve, left to right, whatever. And when I do flowers, I always deal with an odd number. In other words, if you're going to do one flower, or you're going to not do two, but do 3 of something, and then 5 of something, 7 of something, and 9. It goes on and on, all the odd numbers. Now in this particular case, the person that did this particular drawing or painting, they went to 7. If you counted all the flowers in here, you'd have 7. So 7 and the 7 stems. And the leaves, it depend on where you can squeeze the leaves in on the sides of the petal, okay? So now, what I've done, these are little exercises that you can work on. Practice doing circles and practice doing oval shapes. Now, when you get to the leaf, you can make an elongated oval, but just make one end, the outer end, pointed. Just put a little point on the end, and you get the shape of the leaf. So you got the oval, and then put a point on the end, and for the point on the leaf. And the leaf can have a little twist and turn to it also when you're doing the work. Okay, so now I'm going to start off. Now, you can start off just painting if you wanted to, but that's kind of risky. Probably if you painted flowers for an awful long time and you're pretty good at it, you could probably start without sketching it first. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to do it first in pencil, and then I'll probably go over my lines a little bit so they show up more for me with my permanent ink pen, okay? So let's start off. We said I'm going to do 3. This one here has 7, but that's a little bit for the time we have. So I've kind of talked a little bit about, you know, sketching first today, so I used up some of my paint time. So here we go. I'm going to put, let's see, 1. You can put a dot there first. 1, 2, 3, something like that. And I'm going to make my flowers almost probably the average size of a donut, a real donut, right? So, not the size of this. So a real donut would have the hole in the middle, 1 hole there, maybe 1 up here, another one over there. I got my 1, 2, 3. Okay, now I'm going to do that outer ring here. You can make the flower look slightly a little bit smaller if it sets back a ways. And then you got your 3rd one. Okay, you got something like that. Now, when you make that outer ring, you can go outside that outer ring when you put the petals on, okay? So now, here's north, south, east, west, north, south, east, west, and north, east, south, west. Okay, I've indicated very lightly where to start with my first petal. So let's start north, okay? And we're going to just rotate a little bit. There we go, number 1. We'll go south down here too, and that's going to be, those petals go back into of course, that center circle. Okay, they're going to touch in there. Let's go over here, west, and then you got the east, right? You're going to do the same thing with the other, I almost said the other donut, the other flower, right? So you're going to go north, south, east, and west. North, south, east, and west, okay? So now I've got my sketching. I've got the 4 petals, and now I've got to do all the petals in between. So we'll do in between here, in between that one. Make this a little darker. In here, okay, and I think one more over there. Okay, do the next one in between north and northeast here. Okay, get those in. Something like that. All right. Now sometimes I hold my pencil, I use the side of the pencil when I sketch. You can make it loose, keep it loose. Okay, so I've sketched in the flowers. Now the stems, you might not see too much of the stems until you get down around in towards the bottom like this, because they're going to be hiding. The flowers are kind of close together the way I've done it. So let's have them lean a little bit, and have another one up here come down maybe. And they all kind of go off on an angle. This is the way I kind of always do my flowers. If you've ever seen some of my floral painting, usually I don't show too much of the plant pot or whatever. Maybe sometimes I put a little ground, or maybe you see a little bit of background shadow or whatever. But anyways, now what we got to do on the stems, we got to show where we're going to put some leaves. Okay, 1, 2. I don't know if I could. That one's not going to show up. You can have a kind of in back if you want. You can put something in back. Okay, let's put a point on that. Okay. It looks like we get pretty good composition here. I've used up most all that space there. And if we need to, we can always put some little something in there, you know, some shading, a shadow for the background. Now, when I start the flowers, you can leave the background just the white of the paper. But what I usually do is just put a little bit of a soft wash in the background. And you can always get away with a little touch of blue. So let's start off with a little touch of blue here. And with watercolor, to make the color lighter, all you do is have to dilute it down, put more water. Now, if you want to make the background a little bit easier for the brush to slide around on, you can wet it first. So let's do that. Let's find a bigger brush here. Thought I had a large one. Oh yeah, over here. Okay, good. Now, kind of catch my nose a little bit. Okay, now, here we go. We are going to start with the background. And this is going to be a pale blue, so I got to mix some paint out in here, but I dilute it down so it's a lighter shade of blue. This is using my ultramarine blue. It's a little bit deeper color. So here's a little bit of the background. Now you don't have to be too fussy when you do it. You can paint, what I just did, I put wet onto dry, but you can wet this with water first too. But where my background color is going to be kind of lighter, you don't have to wet it first if you don't want to. Okay, let's spread this down through here. Now, if you got too much paint on the brush, just move it down and fill in around here a little bit more. Okay. I got a reputation for being very fluid and loose with my paintbrushes. I certainly don't try to make things too overly fussy. I don't obviously try to make my pictures look like a photograph, I should say. Okay? They will never look like a photograph. Unless I spend hours and hours and hours trying to paint them. I've done that before. I've spent a long time The longest I ever spent on a picture was an oil. It wasn't watercolor back then. And it took me 26 hours. I kept track of the time. I didn't sit there for 26 hours, but working on it over a period of probably 5 or 6 days, 26 hours. Make that a little darker around here. Kind of push the paint around. Okay. Now, here's another thing with watercolor. You can keep adding layers and layers and layers of paint on. If you so desire, but you have to be careful sometimes that you don't overdo it. Okay. You can also take an area. Let's use this one. You can take an area and just blot it if you want to lighten up a shade here and there before it's settled into the paper. Sometimes you want an area to dry faster. I sometimes hit it very light with a paper towel or piece of cloth. Yeah, okay, very soft background. Now, the next thing I'm going to be doing is probably putting the stems in and the green part. So, having said that, I didn't happen to have a green with me, but guess what? You take your yellow, you take some of that yellow, and I'm going to put some over here because I'll probably use it, that one again somewhere. I've got another shade of yellow. It doesn't matter if you put one yellow in with another one, steer them around, that's okay. Because sometimes you don't want that to be the same bright shade of yellow. Maybe if it was a sunflower or something else that had a brighter yellow to it, maybe I would have left that other color on there. Okay, and I'm trying to mix it. But while we're at it, let's mix this these two shades together. It will end up being more like Gamboge yellow. Okay, it has a little bit of a off yellow to it. And that's going to be good for the flowers when we get to it, okay? So now, what we want to do is take a little bit of the blue. Let's take another pointed brush here. Let's get it. Oh, here's a good one to use. Let's take some of that yellow that I have, and we're going to put it out here, and we're going to take some of that blue and put that into it, and the blue and yellow should make it turn green. We're going to try to get this thing to turn green here. Now, anytime you want to make a color, this is what I do. If you want to make the color a little bit darker, of course, you can use a deeper, more blue into it, and you can make it a darker shade of green. And then if you want, I usually take a little bit of Payne's Gray, put a little bit of gray, just a pinch, into the yellow and the blue that I've made up to be green. Now let's see what this looks like. Let's try it. We'll try it on one of the petals. You see how I paint? I just come out with a brush, and then if you want the thing to go to a point, you just lift up like that. Okay? And don't go tampering with it. See how that works? Just hit it in places. I had okay, lift up. There you go. And back to the green again. You want to make that a little darker shade of green, you can. And I'm going to put a little bit of something in there. There's a little something over here. Kind of counterbalance, right? All right, you notice if I want to go to a point, I just lift up. Yeah. And we're going to have some fun. I think I'm going to do, when I do the stems, though, I have a very thin brush here somewhere. It's like a rigger or a line brush. Now, I had that out, or it might be over here, hiding over here. Yep, there it is. Okay, I had that out, and that can be used for the stems. Now, you can use a real wider brush if you want. Let's try that, see how that works for the stems. Now, I got a stem coming down in here somewhere. Whoops, that's kind of wide. That's a little bit too wide. So anyways, let's take that out of there. Lighten it up. Now, what we want to do here, I think I'm going to put that one away. Let's try this one. What we're going to do, the stems can be a little bit darker than the leaves. Let's put a little line there. That's better. Something in here. There you go. You can lift up with this too. It goes from thick to thin. If you want to just keep the same thickness, just let it stay there and just lift off. You got it the way you want it, let it go. Okay? I don't want to put too many stems in here. More than I have flowers, right? Let's do that. Now that one's kind of, I don't care for that one, so let's take that, blot that out before it can dry in. Maybe something more like that. And we got 1, 2, 3. That should be okay. All right. I don't know if I want something to flare. We'll see later. I may add a couple more leaves later. Now, we can work on the petals. And I usually start with sort of a mid-sized brush, probably a number 7 round. Yeah, there you go. I'm sorry, number 9. That's okay. They're pretty close. Okay, now we're going to just add a pinch more on the petals. I'm going to add just a pinch of orange into that yellow I have up here. I'm going to just put a pinch, just a pinch in there, see what happens. Okay, and steer that around and see if I can get it a little closer to the color that I have in the picture. Okay, now again, you can start off with the petal. You start off with the petal right at the circle. Touch the circle, press down, and then keep it down until you get out to the point, and then lift up, like that, okay? So now, let's do that again. Touch the circle, press down, and then lift up. There you go. Now, you can go north, south, east, and west if you want. Touch the circle and bring it out. Now the thing is, if you put more pressure on the brush, you can make the petal wider. All you have to do is press hard. When I start out from the circle, if I want that to stay wider, see how I can make it wide and then go thin, like that. So it depends on how much pressure you put on the brush and how much of a point you want on the tip of the petal. Okay, here we go. Touch the circle and then out. Whoops. Let's try that again. Touch, come out, and lift up. Okay, let's get a little bit more water on this. Oh boy. Okay, here we go. Okay, touch the circle and out. Now you can do this very spontaneous once you get used to it. Okay, what do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, here we go. We're going to do some fillers in between here. Okay? Now I'll come back to that in a minute. Let's do another one. This one down here. Okay, touch the circle, come out, lift up. Whoops. Give it a little bit more press. Maybe I can press that out, give it wider. So make it a little wider there. Okay, press down a little more and then go out. That's a good one. Okay, every so often you get lucky, you have a good one. All right, there you go. All right. Touch the circle, press down, lift up, out. You can try to give the brush a little bit of a twist if you want as you go out. I don't know, just to keep the point, make sure you get the point. Okay, here we go. Another one in here. And see how I give it a little twist? You don't have to do that if you don't want to. See where we're at. Okay, now this is up to you. You take a clean piece of towel or cloth. You can, if you got one that's sort of a little bit too much paint, you think so, you can blot it. You can blot it if you feel there's a little bit too much paint on it. But you have to be careful about that when you do it. Okay, let's continue on here. How many petals do we have? I got 3, about 10. Let's add a couple more, a little bit more water. There you go. One in here from the circle, out. In there maybe. Okay, that looks like it's pretty well filled up. Okay, let's go over here now. Do this one. I'm kind of getting thin on the water here and paint. Excuse me. Okay, from the circle, out, lift up, out, lift up, out, lift up. Now this one might be a little further back, so you don't have to kind of lean into that as much. Keep it a little bit thinner. Okay. Now sometimes when I do pencil marks, I don't always stay in the line. You can erase the pencil marks once the whole thing's dry. You can erase it right through the paint. Here we go. Whoops, that's kind of thick there. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, let's fill it in a little bit more. Okay, something like that. You can do these very, very loose, you know. Now, there's always something that has to have a little bit of touch up. Maybe the petals maybe don't look quite right, but you can always go back and touch up. And then if you want this to dry a little bit more in the middle, just be very careful, press down. See, this has a few little puddles here. We can pick those up, dry it off. Okay, now we've got 1, 2, 3. Now, if I were to add anything else, that would make 4. That's an even number. So what I'd have to do is add a couple more. So that then I'd be up to 5. Now, I could put another one up in here. That would make 4. And then I'd have to do something else to get to 5, maybe 1. Yeah, that would make up to 5. Now, that's if I want to do that. Okay, Now, here's another thing too. Right in here, I can go back and touch this up with my brush. Let's do this. Go back to some of my green again, and I can have some of this stem go off a little bit here, fill this in. That's a little bit thin right here. And bend that up there, that way. If you want to add another petal, you could put something else off here. It doesn't have to be the same thickness. You can go back to that brush we had for some of the leaves, right? And if you want to fill that in, you can. Wherever you find a spot that probably needs something filled in, you can do it. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to go back up into there with that. That looks like a kind of a loose end there. Okay, now some of these look kind of on the light side. So if you want, it's up to you, you can go over it. You make that leaf a little darker. You put a little bit of something in here on that one. You can have something else break through here. Yeah, you're kind of filling it in. It looks kind of a little bit lacking something in through here. Maybe put another leaf or stem or something in there. And make it balance off. You added some little filler to it. Those are sometimes the finishing touches that you might want to put in there. Now, I'm going to show you a little bit later, I'm going to show you something else that I do as far as touching up. We'll put something else up in here too. Something in there. I don't want to see too much white in there. Just add a little bit of something in there. Add something on there. You kind of go around, kind of spot check your painting. Now, what we want to also do here is to, let's see what I want to do. You know, this has some little prickly things on the edges, but I don't think I'm going to put, that's kind of fussy to put all that in. So we don't need that. But what we want to do is finish off the middle part. Now, I have somewhere hiding here my raw sienna. And that's sort of like a brownish beige color. We'll squeeze a little bit of that out. I haven't used this one for a while. This particular tube is a larger tube. It's probably 37 ounces. A larger tube. The other tube, they average about 10 ounces. So now you can do it different ways. You could use one of those little stipple brushes, or you can use just a regular brush, a pointed brush. And I'm just going to start in the middle. Okay, 1, 2, 3. And then just tap around that one that's in the center. Just work around in the side there. Like that. That little dot in the middle, you just work around it. Tap around it. You don't have to leave any highlight in there if you don't want to. Okay, tap around this one. Okay, you get the idea on that. Around there, okay. We'll see how that works out. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do, I think that needs a little bit of darker texture to it. Now, the brown that I use a lot is the sepia. It's spelled very short, four letters, SEPA. And I have sepia. It's a really darker. Payne's gray is all right too. You can get away with that one. Let's see if I can find that sepia. Oh, Payne's gray. Oops. I've got a whole mess of Payne's gray. That's Rossiana. Oh, there it is. There it is. This is a very, very dark brown. It's a good color. I use it a lot sometimes. Ground sticks on the ground type of thing. If you have a painting that requires that, let's get the brush wet a little bit. Okay. Now, we want to work on some more dots in the center here. Just jump around a little bit. I'm putting about 6 dots in there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Stand back, look at it, see if it looks okay. I think in this case, the picture has a little bit more filled in. Probably 8 or 9 dots here. I certainly can fill it in much more. Here we go. Okay. Now, where do we go from here? Okay. Now, here's the thing. We can go back in. And what I wanted to do is show you this. That was a kind of I tried to put a stem in, but that's a little bit too wide. So we can take that and I'm going to use a flat brush, more like a scrubber. And what I'm going to do is just wet that with water. Drop some water on it. And what that does is it reactivates the paint. Now, a lot of paints won't do that. Oils and acrylics and all that doesn't work that way. The paint just dries and there's no way to water on it to soften it up. So then you blot it, right? Now see, already that's getting lighter. It's getting much lighter. Let's do it again. Let's put more water on it. Now, worst comes to worst, I have my white acrylic, and it's like whiteout. You just put a little white in that area, and it disappears completely. No one would know it was there. Okay, you can wiggle the brush into it, reactivate it, and really press hard to get some of it. See how you lighten? You get it very light. So, watercolor is forgiving. If you don't like it, you can take it out. Usually blues are stainers. If you leave them sometimes too long, they do stain quite a bit. Now, with this, if it still has a little bit showing, here's where the white comes in. You take a little bit of your acrylic white, put it on your palette somewhere where there's a, whoops, got plenty of paint to squirt it out. But all you have to do now, take a clean brush and come back in over that place and just back and forth, wiggle it back and forth. It's completely gone. It's completely gone. And people can't notice it too well because most watercolors, your paintings, they're under glass because they are always affected by water, okay? So anyhow, now, here's where we can start doing a little bit of filler work. I can use some green. I'm going to make it a little lighter though. I'm going to put some green in here. Okay, whoa, yeah, I wanted it light, but not that light. Okay, just start filling some of these areas in the background. It doesn't have to have any particular shape or form. All you're doing is just hiding some of the white. Okay, that's all we're doing, is hiding some of the white. Okay, now usually I would let that orangey color dry out a little bit more. Now, if these are a little bit more orangey than the photograph, here's what you do. You can take your brush later on after this dry. You can paint on top of that, paint right over that, and bring out more of the yellow color on top of that, okay? So you just touch it up, just put some yellow on and doctor it up. You can add more petals in there too if you want. Okay, now I'm just going to finish up a little bit more. You can also take some of the blue background, have that show through. Just make sure when you do that, that you kind of soften it out, pull it out to the edge, and something like that. You can put some shadow back in there. Okay. Now normally you let this set up a lot longer than what I'm doing now, and probably come back after that dries in more. Because sometimes if I'm putting this little bit of a background filler in, sometimes what happens is that it bumps up against the petals and sort of smudges a little bit. Okay. Now we're going to purposely let everybody know that we put some soft green back in there. So pull it out into the wash you have here. There you go. Now, here's another thing too. Some of the petals, or the leaves rather, if they don't go to a point, sometimes you have to re-point them. Actually, a little bit of point back on them. But pull that back into the main body of the leaf. Pull it back in, pull this back in. Yeah, see how you can kind of jimmy around with it. But the thing is, a lot of times you get too fussy, and you try to use too small a brush, and you're doing all this little fussy stuff. And after a while, what happens is it starts looking too linear. Excuse me. It gets a little bit too linear. So you have to be careful that some of these edges are pulled back, so they basically kind of blend into the background. See how that kind of, I'm filling it in. And you don't have to be that fussy with it, but you don't want to leave too much of an edge. Just scrub the edge off, just rub it off, blend it back. You pull it right back to the edge of the paper. Okay, let's do the same thing over here. You can pull some of this in and just fill it back. Anywhere it looks too white, you can even put a petal back here or there, you know, whatever you decide to do with it. So that's the way it goes. All right. Okay. Now, if you want something to stop a lot of time, you know, if you've got a puddle there, make sure it's a clean piece of paper towel, and you can blot that, pick up specks here and there if you want. Sometimes I pat it to dry it faster. But you can also use a hairdryer. You can put the hairdryer on it. A lot of times, I don't use a hairdryer because it's kind of noisy, you know, to be running that dryer. People get that sound on the TV at home. So I kind of ease up on using a dryer on the shows. You're always balancing, so kind of move around. Don't just finish in one spot. Okay, take the edge off. Take the edge. Okay. Now, I could work on this a little bit more, but I know there's some areas here that are a little bit too wet yet. Yeah. I don't want to take away some of the cleaner edges that I have. So some of these edges are sharper. You can add a little bit more. If something's a little bit too light in there, I just put a little bit of darker shade in there. I'm being overly cautious here. But you can, let's break this up so you can put something a little bit darker in there maybe. Something over in here. Repeat that color somewhere else. Okay. You have to be careful. See, that's a little bit too heavy. So, having said that, find a clean piece of towel and just quiet it down. It doesn't want to quiet down too well, does it? So then you have to kind of wet it. Put some water on it. Let the water reactivate the color. Then hit it with a clean piece of the towel. Oh, I took it out almost completely. Okay, kind of get the idea of it. Now you can come in around the base of this. It could get a little bit heavier through here also. I always like more of a stronger base, so you could come in with something a little stronger in there. Okay, carry it out. You don't want to get too stringy with it, so take some of the edge off. I'm being overly cautious. I don't want to get too heavy with it, but that gives you the idea. Now, here's the thing. I did put a very soft blue wash around there, and I may want to take the tape off the edge. I made a little narrow artificial mat around it. So if I want that mat to show up, I got to push some color, a little darker color, into that coming in from the outside, right around the edge. Pull it in and go all the way around. You don't want that white to be, too white, because then you won't pick up any contrast. I'll show you what I mean when we pull the tape off. I don't always have to do this. I don't have to do this. Very seldom. Okay. You can leave some of the blue coming through here. Okay. I guess we got the edges to contrast a little bit soft up there. Just coming. Oh, that's a little bit too dark. I'll take that out in a hurry. I'm going to have to erase that one in a hurry. Okay. Here we go. Clean towel. Oh, disappears. pretty much. Okay. All right, so we'll take a look at what we have. We're almost running out of time here. We've got a few more minutes. Now, let's see what we got. I just put a little bit of tape. I didn't use the whole width of the tape today. I used half and half, I guess. We can take that off ever so careful. Make sure you have clean fingers, otherwise you'll leave fingerprints on the false mat that you're trying to design here. Fingers clean, maybe. Make sure. Okay. This is very good tape, by the way, but sometimes the tape can get a little bit much. You have to be very, see how it might tear the surface of the paper. You don't want that to happen. I can touch that up, but just the idea of it. Okay. You get the idea. And now you're supposed to tear it off on an angle, 45-degree angle, so it doesn't damage the paper. So anyways, that's the reason for the putting the edge around it, so you get a contrast, how it sets in there pretty good. And after everything's dry, you just put your little signature down there on either the left side or the right side, and should be okay. Now this up in here, you just have to touch that up. I'm going to use a softer brush. All you have to do is take a little bit of color and pour it across there. From this side, from that side, just go across there. And that will fill that in. We won't see it. Okay, so there's the picture. Looks like I hit it with a speck. Of course, you can speckle it if you want. Make it look like it's supposed to be there. Let's take that out of there. There you go. Okay. So there you go with pretty much the picture. Might need a little bit of touch up here and there, but that's about it. So Black-Eyed Susans, something like Black-Eyed Susans. I deviated a little bit with the color. I think mine's a little bit more orange on the petal. This artist a little bit more yellow. So, but you get the idea, okay? So brushes up, and we'll see you next time. And thanks for being with us this time, okay? All right. Now we got to clean up a bit. Oh, should sign my name, huh? If it's dry enough, I just put my name across the bottom. There you go. Signed, sealed, and delivered, right? There you go. Okay, well, thanks a lot. Take care. We'll see you next week, okay?